Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to create a merit matrix to allocate salary increases. And this is what you will learn. I will cover what is compound ratio and how to calculate it, what is a merit matrix and how to create a merit matrix for salary increases, how to use Excel's index and match function to allocate pay increases using the merit matrix that we create here. And lastly, how to compute the salary increase budget. So now let's dive into what is compound ratio and how to compute it. This is the formula for compound ratio. Your compound ratio is your salary divided by the midpoint of your pay band. Compound ratio indicates how far your salary is from the midpoint of your pay band. So for example, if your salary is 700 and the midpoint for your pay band is 1000, your compound ratio is 700 divided by 1000, which is 0.7 or 70% from the midpoint. If your salary is 1000 and the midpoint for your pay band is 1000, then 1000 divided by 1000 is 1.0. So your compound ratio is 1.0, which is exactly at the midpoint. If your salary is 1,300 and the midpoint for your pay band is 1,000, then your compound ratio is 1,300 divided by 1,000, which is 1.3 or 130% from the midpoint of 1,000. So what does a compound ratio of 0.7 means? A compound ratio of 0.7 means that the employee's pay is 70% from the midpoint of the pay band. All right. So generally at this area, the staff is still developing competencies for the job and needs guidance. And the staff at this 0.7 compound ratio typically has not fully met the performance expectations. And these are usually for staff who are newly promoted. They are usually packed around 70% of the compound ratio. So a compound ratio of 1 means that the staff pay is exactly at the midpoint of the pay band. Here, the staff is fully competent, independently performs all the job responsibilities, and meets the performance expectations for the job. A compound ratio of 1.3 means the employee's pay is 130% from the midpoint of 1,000. Here, the staff is typically highly competent with critical skills and valued institutional knowledge. And the staff would usually exceed the performance expectations. So, your staff are likely to have different compound ratio in a pay band and hence different pay because everyone have different skills, different experience, and different performance level. So now I have covered what is compound ratio and how to calculate it. Now let's move on to what is a merit matrix and how to calculate a merit matrix for salary increase. Now, what is a merit matrix? This is a merit matrix. A merit matrix is also known as a merit increase matrix or a salary increase matrix. It is a two-factor table that provides a framework to help managers allocate pay increases to employees. The two factors most commonly used in a merit matrix are the performance rating here and the compound ratio. Performance rating are usually plotted on the vertical side of the matrix. So this is the performance rating. They are on the vertical side of this matrix. And compound ratio are typically plotted on the horizontal side of the matrix. So here is a salary increase matrix based on a 5-point rating scale with 5 for high performer and 1 for low performer. So how do we create a merit matrix? So the first step to create our matrix is to create this matrix format. The next thing that you need to do is to find the anchor point. In the example here, I'm going to set 4% as my anchor point. All right, so I put 4 and let's change this to a percentage. Okay, there I go. Yeah, so I have set 4% as my anchor point. This 4% you can derive from the market. So for example, if a certain country, if Singapore annual increment is 4%, you can set it as 4%. Or if in the US is 3%, you can set it as 3%, the market increment rate. Or maybe say China or India could be maybe 8 or 10%, and you can set it accordingly here. So I have set 4% as my anchor point. This anchor point I've set is the middle point where most of my staff rated 3 are at the competitive pay. You will see later on how I can adjust this number to change the other matrix number. So to make my anchor point stand out, I have colored this cell yellow. So I can color it any other color, but I have colored it yellow. Now, we need to link all the other blank cells here within the matrix to this anchor point cell, so that whenever I change this number, every other numbers in this matrix will change. So how do we do that? We will need to set up the percentages in this these orange cells and these orange cells. First, let us set the two cells, this cell and this cell, that is aligned to this anchor point. So I want to set here and here, all right, the intercept. Let's set this to 100%. And this one, let's set it to 100%. So you notice what I have done is to set cell A9 and E4 that is aligned to my this 4% anchor point at 100%. All right. So now next, let's set up the relationship for this horizontal orange cell here, the rest of these orange cells here, to this anchor point. So I've taught you what is compound ratio. A compound ratio of more than 1.2 means that the employee's salary is more than 120% from the midpoint of that job. I do not want to give those who are already paid above market for the job, which is more than 1.2, a very high salary increase. Thus, I will set the salary increase here for this more than 1.2 compound ratio at 75% of this 4%, of this anchor point 4%. And then those at market, I will set it at 100%. And those with less than 0.8% compound ratio. So what does this mean? A compound ratio of less than 0.8 means that the employee's pay is less than 80% from the midpoint of the pay band. So I will want to give those with a low compound ratio of less than 0.8 more salary increase. Hence, I will set the salary increase here at, for example, 125% of this anchor point, of this 4% anchor point. So this is how I set up the relationship between the compound ratio and the pay increase. Next, let's set up the relationship for the vertical orange columns to this anchor point. In this vertical orange column here, all right, 5 is for high performer and 1 is for low performer. I want my rating 5 to be given the most pay increase. So I will set it at 150%. You can set it at 200%. All right, but I decided to set it at 150% of this 4%. Next, I want my rating 4 to be given the second most pay increase. So I will set it at 125%. Next, rating 3, I've set it at 100%. That means rating 3, they will get 4%, for example. And rating 2, I will set it lower at 75%. And rating 1, these are my lowest performer, I set it at 0%. So this is how we set up the relationship between performance rating and pay increase. Now, let's start to build the formula and link up all our other recommendations, all the white cells here, to this anchor point and all these orange percentages at the side. So let's start off with this cell D7. Let's build the formula here. So let me type equals to this cell multiplied by A7 multiplied by D4 and hit enter. So basically, I want this percentage here to be 155%. No, sorry, 150% of this 4% and 125% of this 4%. So this is what the formula says. All right. So this is saying that rating 5 and with low profile, with a person with rating 5 and low Compa-Ratio, they will get 75.5% increment versus a person with rating 3, lower rating, and a Compa-Ratio of around 0.8 to 1.2. I want to give 0.4%. All right, so I've built this formula. Now, next, I want to log the anchor point E9, this anchor point, because all my cells I want to reference to this. I want to log this E9 cell. So to do that, I can put the $sign here in front of the E and the 9. All right. And I hit enter. So if you notice, when I drag it down, the E9 remains. All right. The cell E9 remains in the formula. All right. So you can also type E9 here and also press, and then you press the function F4 in your keyboard. You can also lock this cell. Okay, next, I want to add a $sign in front of this A7. So let's put it there, a $sign here. I put a $sign here so that when I drag this formula across other cells, this A remains fixed. Only the number 7 changes. So if you notice, I put a $sign in front of A, and when I drag it down, the A is fixed. Only the number changes from initially 7 to A8 and then A9. So when you have a $sign in front of A, the A is fixed. All right. Okay, let's delete all this. And next, I also want to add a $sign in front of 4 here. Let's put a $sign here. Basically, I want to fix this row. All right. So I want to put a $sign in front of 4 so that when I drag the formula across, the orange row is fixed. All right. Only the column D changes. So here will be D4, E4, F4. right? So if you look at it, when I drag it across, the formula works is D4, and then I fix the column 4. The 4 is still fixed, only this alphabet changes to E, column E, and this is still 4, and the column changes to F, all right? Okay, let's delete this. So I have got the formula I want. This formula locks this cell and links it to the rating as well as the compound ratio. So now that I have this formula set up, all right, I can drag it across, down. I can drag it down to copy the formula. So I can also drag it across to copy the formula. So let's just drag the formula down to the other cells for the formula to apply to all the other cells. So now when you look at the formula in column D, you will notice that the orange column A here, the column A is fixed when I drag it down, right? You see, the column A is always there. It's always column A. Only the number behind changes. A8, A9, A10, A11. All right, because I have put a dollar sign in front of A. And next, when you look at this row 7, you will notice that here D4, the number 4 is fixed. Right, the number 4 is fixed because I've placed a dollar sign in front of 4. Only the alphabet in front of it changes from column E to column F. Right, so if you look at this is column F. Now, the good thing about this merit matrix here is that everything you see here has some relationship to the anchor point. See, it anchors to here. It anchors to here. E9. It always anchors to this E9. So all the formulas in white is anchored with this, is linked up with this formula. So if I change this 4% to 8%, you'll notice that all the cells in white changes. So see, everything changes. I change it to 6%. It changes all except this row, all right? Because this row, I have put it at 0%. All right, so if I change it to 9, everything changes. So next, if we change this 0% for rating 1 to, for example, 30% in this vertical orange column, you will notice that the pay increase for rating 1 will change. And let's hit enter. Yes, it changes. So now let's adjust it back to 0%. And this will, when we change this to 0%, this will be back to 0%. And let's change the anchor point, this, back to 4%. All right, so now you are done with building this merit matrix. So I've shown you, explained you what is compa-ratio and how to calculate it. Remember in this slide here. And then I have also shown you what is a merit matrix and how to create a merit matrix for salary increase, which is in this slide. So next, I will show you how to use Excel's index and match function to allocate pay increases from this merit matrix that you created. So now let's go back to here. All right, let's move this a little bit. Okay. Let's delete this. All right, now let me show you how to use Excel's index and match function. I will explain how to use index and match function individually first. How to use index, how to use match, so that you understand how they work. And then we will write the index and match formula together. So now let's start with index. So what is index? The index function returns a value in a cell in an array, for example, this array, at the intersection of a row and column that you provide. So what do I mean? So here, I want to use index to look up this matrix and return the value at the intersection of rating 5 and Compa-Ratio D. So the intersection of rating 5 and this Compa-Ratio, all right, less than 0.8 is 0.75. All right. So I said that the index will return a value in a cell at the intersection of the row and the column that I provide. So now let's type in the formula, and so you will know how it works. So let's type equals to index, open parenthesis, and then select my data range, which is from C6 to F11. So this is the data range. And type in the comma, type in 2, because rating 5 in this data array that I select is in the second row, first, second. And type in, put a comma there, type another 2, because the Compa-Ratio, the less than 0.8, is in the second column, column 1, column 2. All right. So this is telling the position. In this table, C6 to F11, my data is in this second column, as well. It is in the second row, and as well as the second column. Then let's type the sorry, this should be a comma, 2, and let's type close parenthesis and hit enter. Okay, let's change this to percentage and set it to 2 decimal point. Right? So the index has found for me the increment for rating 5 and Compa-Ratio less than 0.8, which is 7.5%. Right? So yeah, I have got 7.5% because this 7.5% is at the intersection of rating of this second row in this array, as well as the second column 1, 2. Right? Easy, right? Okay, however, on its own, the index function is pretty inflexible because you have to hard key these two numbers. You have to hard key the row number 2 and the column number 2. The row number and the column number. The row number and the column number. So we want to make these two dynamic, and we can do that with the match function. Make this number here 2 dynamic with the match function, because the match function returns the position of any item in the array. So now let's move on to this second example. How to use match to find the row number for rating 5. First, what is match? The match function looks up a numeric or text value in an array and returns the position within the array. Here, I want to use match to find the row number for the rating 5. To do this, type equal match, open parenthesis, and then type 5, comma, then select my data range which is C6 to C11. All right, C6 to C11, and then type in the comma, type in 0 because I want exact match. I want it to find the exactly 5, not 5.1 or 5.2. All right, so I type in 0, close parentheses, and hit the enter. So you will get 2. All right, you will get 2 because rating 5 is at the second row. Just now I selected, you see, this is my data array from here, C6 to C11. So rating 5 is at the second. Is at the second row of my data array. Right? So let's hit enter. So we have the number 2 here. So later we can fit in this formula number 2. We can take this formula here to replace this number 2. All right? Later we'll do that. Now, I want to lock the cell B. I want to lock the cell by putting a $sign in front of the C and the 6. So we can do that. All right, I want to lock this table so that later when I drag it down, it doesn't move. So let's put a $sign here and the $sign here. All right. So what I'm doing is I have locked this table. Next, I want to show you how to use match to find the column number for compound ratio less than 8. So which column number is this? So I want to use match to find the column number for compound ratio less than 0.8. So to do this, type in the equals match, open parenthesis, and then type less than 0.8. Right? Type less than 0.8. Let's see, equals to match, open parenthesis, less than 0.8, comma, and then we'll select my range, which is from C6 to F6. Type in the comma, type in 0 because I want exact match, close parenthesis, and hit enter. Oops, there's something wrong with the formula. Okay, so I need to type in this as well. All right, so I have typed in this in my formula. And let's hit enter. Oops, it doesn't work. Let's take a look. Okay, there is a space here. All right, there's a space here. So let's change this, put a space, and hit enter. Yes, I got it. Okay, let's remove the decimal point. Hey, I will get, in this formula, I will get 2 because the compound ratio less than 0.8, is at column 2 of this table array. Of this table array, C6 to F6, less than 0.8 is the second. It is the second column. So now I want to fix this cell by putting this table array so that it doesn't move. By putting the $sign here, here, and here, and here. All right. So later, so this has found the position of Compa-Ratio less than 0.8. So this formula, I want to later copy this formula here to replace this number 2. All right, so that to make this dynamic. So now I have taught you how to use index, how to use match. Next, I will show you how to use index and match together as a function to allocate pay increases from this matrix. Now, here I have a table of data here, and I have the staff here, their performance rating in this column E, their Compa-Ratio and their Compa-Ratio grouping. All right, 0.8 is less than 0. So I have put all the Compa-Ratio here, less than 0.8. So this should be 0.79, for example. More than 1.2. No, 1.3 is more than 1.2. 1 is between this. 0.85 is between this. 1.25 Compa-Ratio is above this. All right, so the grouping is correct. So I have the performance rating here in column E, the Compa-Ratio grouping in column G. I want to use index and match to build a formula to derive this salary increase percentage in this column H from. So based on this rating, based on this Compa-Ratio grouping, I want to build a formula here, all right, that derive the salary increase percentage from this table. All right, to do this, I need the index and match function. So how to use the formula? Let's type equals to index, open parenthesis, and then select this cell C6 to F11. Type in the comma, type 2, because I want it to find in this table array, see that I highlighted here. I want it to look for the rating 5, which is in the second row. Then type in the comma and type in 2 again, because I want it to look at the second column, which is Compa-Ratio less than 0.8. Then type close parenthesis and hit enter. So you will get 0.08 here. So let's change this to a percentage and to decimal point. All right, so you will get 7.5% because 7.5% is at the intersection of this row and row 2 and column 2 of this table array. From here to here, it is at from here to here is at the second row and second column. Right? All right. So for this table array, the second row here means second row, second column, and that number is 7.5%. So if a person has a rating 5 and Compa-Ratio less than 0.8, rating 5, Compa-Ratio less than 0.8, they get 7.5% increment. Right? Now, next, I want to lock this C6 by adding the $ in front of this C and in front of this 6. And I also want to lock this. Basically, I'm locking this table. And then we hit enter on the keyboard. So now this formula is pretty inflexible because I have to hard key this row 2 and this column 2. So to make this function dynamic, we need to replace this hard-coded number, this hard-coded row 2 and column 2 with the match function. So to do this, let's copy my match formula. I'm going to replace these two, and I have built the formula here. I'm going to copy this formula, select here, Control C on the keyboard, and let's paste it, replace these two. Press Control V to paste it there. All right. And I also want to replace this hard-coded 2 with this match formula. So let's go to here that I built, select here, press Control C to copy the formula, come to here, select these two that I want to replace and press Control V to replace it with the match formula. So you still get 7.5% because 7.5% is at the intersection of row 2 and column 2 of this table array. So now if I drag this down, you'll get 7.5% for the next row. You see, if I drag it down, you'll still get 7.5% for the next row. But the salary increase should not be 7.5%. All right, it should be 3% for a staff with rating 3, and Compa-Ratio more than 1.2. For a staff with rating 3, which is here, and Compa-Ratio more than 1.2, the interception is 3%. It's not 7.5%. So now, what went wrong? Let's see. Okay, let's hit the escape key. Okay, I have got this formula. I get 7.5%, so this is not correct. It has to be 3%. So to fix this formula, we need to change the hard-coded 5. All right, this hard-coded 5. All right, we need to change this hard-coded 5, which means less than, okay, to, hold on. Okay, I need to change this hard-coded 5 to, I don't want to hard-code this. So I want it to take whatever value is in this cell, all right, E14. So I select this number 5. I don't want to hard code it. I just click onto this cell. So it changed to E14. And let's see, there is another hard-coded item, which is here. All right, I don't want this to be hard-coded. So let's select this one and select this cell G14. So you'll pick up the number here. All right, and then hit enter. Now let's drag the formula down. You'll notice that this changes. All right, so you have changed. So this is correct. For a staff with rating 3 and more than 1.2 Compa-Ratio, rating 3 and more than 1.2 Compa-Ratio, the increment is 3%. Next, why is this 0%? For someone with rating 1 and Compa-Ratio of 0.8 to 1.2 is 0%. So the salary increase is 0%, which is correct again. And let's see here, Compa-Ratio rating of 3 and Compa-Ratio between 0.8 to 1.2, it is 4%. So you get this. So the formula works, all right? Perfect. This formula draws from the rating here as well as the Compa-Ratio group. It looks up this table and gives us the increase percentage for the staff. All right, let's move on to the last part, how to compute the salary increase budget. So this salary increase amount, to get this salary increase amount for each staff in column I, you need to multiply the salary with the increase percentage. So to do this, in this cell, type in equals to this cell multiply by this cell and hit enter. All right, D14 times H7, H14. So next, to get the new salary increase for each staff in column J, you need to add the salary and this increased amount. So let's type equals to this plus this. So this is the salary increase. So now let's drag this down for the formula and drag this down to populate the formula there. So now let's move on to this salary increase budget area, this merit budget area. So to get the total salary, you will need to sum up the salary in this column D. So to do this, this is the formula to use. Type equals to sum, open bracket, and select here, and close bracket, and hit enter. So the total salary is 10,300. So to get the salary increase budget, I will put in 4%. So this depends on the market rate. So this depends on for various countries. So for example, you do a survey, I mean, you found out that the Singapore average increment is 4%, you type in 4%. So if you are in US, the forecasted increment is 3%, you put in 3%, all right? So I will put in 4% for here. Next, this salary increase budget. To get this salary increase budget, you need to multiply this total salary with the salary increase budget percentage. So this means that you're applying the 4% for all the staff. So let's type in equals to this cell times this cell, and let's hit enter. So this is the budget that I have for salary increase. And next, to get the salary increase budget utilized, you need to sum up each staff salary increase amount in this column. All right. So to do that, this is the formula equals to sum, and let's select from here to here and close the bracket. So this is the salary increase budget utilized. Next, to get the salary increase budget balance, you need to find the difference between the salary increase budget and the salary increase budget utilized. So to do this, we need to equals this cell equals this minus this and hit enter. So this is the balanced salary increase budget that I have got. So, all right, that's it. So this is your salary increase template here. All right, thanks for watching Excel Tricks by the HR Diary. If you are not a subscriber, click down below and subscribe so that you get notified about similar videos that we upload. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the HR Diary channel. See ya!